Hello and welcome to Direct Approach with Wayne Moorhead, an exclusive podcast by DSN filled with candid and insightful conversations with leading corporate executives about today's evolving direct sales channel. In today's episode, Wayne is joined by Corey Lindley, founding executive and CEO of dōTERRA. Corey has been engaged in the global world of direct selling for more than 3 decades, living and working in Hong Kong, Japan, China, Australia, and the United States. He has held C-level senior positions for $2 billion plus direct selling companies, including dōTERRA, which he is a founding executive. He has played a key role in guiding the company's global business and in ensuring the board's strategic vision is implemented. dōTERRA is a 15-year-old company that sources, tests, manufactures, and distributes pure essential oils and natural wellness products to over 9 million wellness advocates and customers in 86 countries and counting. In this episode, Corey talks about some of the challenges of moving into international markets and what it takes to become a global company. He emphasizes the importance of collaboration and communication between the home office and corporate and how it improves operations. He also shares some of his best leadership lessons and insights. Finally, Corey talks about how the company is instilling its vision into future generations, the importance of personalization for customers, and discusses how distributors have evolved over time. But before we begin, a word from one of our sponsors. Did you know that the average cost of one bad hire is nearly $15,000? By bringing 25 years of executive-level experience in direct sales companies and speaking 5 languages, the CP & Krell Group knows what it looks like to have success in a diverse and international environment. Specializing in the beauty, wellness, and fashion industries, their omni-channel approach allows them to have access to a pool of candidates with experience in various channels beyond direct sales. The CP & Krell team leverage invaluable insight into what it takes to recruit top talent. And by promoting diversity, 92% of their candidates hired in the last 18 months had an ethnically diverse background, with 85% of them speaking at least 2 languages. Because landing a more sophisticated brand of talent takes a sophisticated recruiting partner. The CP & Krell Group is your ideal partner to attract the industry's most substantial talent. Visit cpkrell.com. That is cpkrell.com to learn more. The talent of tomorrow, discovered today. Now please help me welcome your host, Wayne Moorhead, and today's guest, Corey Lindley, founding executive and CEO of dōTERRA.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of DSN's Direct Approach podcast. I'm your host, Wayne Moorhead, and today I am joined by someone that has had an incredibly impressive career with over 3 decades in direct selling. He's lived and worked in Hong Kong, Japan, China, Australia, and of course, the United States. He's worked in C-level positions for 2 multi-billion-dollar consumer product companies. I'm excited to welcome founding executive and CEO at dōTERRA, Mr. Corey Lindley. Corey, thank you so much for being here on Direct Approach.
Oh, thanks, Wayne. I appreciate you reaching out to me. It's wonderful to connect with you again and visit for a few minutes.
Again, you've had such an incredible career, and I'm really excited for you to share some insights with us and all the listeners. Before we jump too much into the rest of the podcast, I'd love for you just to take a couple minutes and share the path that led you from working at one of the largest public accounting firms to the direct selling channel.
Sure. I worked, as you mentioned, coming out of school, I worked for Deloitte & Touche. Had a great few years there, auditing, learned a lot in the financial world. And I had a former friend where I grew up who was working at Nu Skin, who asked me if I'd be interested in coming and learning a little bit about what they were doing. They were growing internationally, and I thought that was intriguing. And so I went down and visited with the Nu Skin team, Blake Roney and the crew there, and I had a great experience and felt like it was a great opportunity to expand globally. I was always interested in global opportunities coming out of Utah, and it was a wonderful 20 years there. It was a great experience.
I bet. You did have an incredible impact there. So I'm going to dig in a little bit on the international side with your really extensive background and perspective there. But first, I'd love to dig in a little bit on dōTERRA and what you've been up to the last several years. Obviously, dōTERRA has had significant and continued success since it launched. I'm curious what you feel are some of the main contributing factors or strategies to that continued growth and success.
Yeah, thanks, Wayne, and thank you for your compliment. At dōTERRA, we are doing well, and it's been a changing time for direct selling, but we're doing well. I think it starts with dōTERRA with focusing on a product that is really amazing, products that are in great consumer demand, right? When we started back 15 years ago, we just celebrated our 15-year anniversary. We didn't bring a lot of or recruit a lot of people from other direct selling companies. It was kind of just people who were focused on the product, focused on wanting to share the product. And so we started very organically, and that base of these amazing leaders who really started with us has really paid great dividends for us. We've stayed very product focused, very principle focused in what we're doing, and it's been great.
Absolutely. That product focus has had really an incredible impact. And I spent some time in the category as well. And I know how devoted those consumers and distributors can be around the essential oil category. And dōTERRA and the team there was really instrumental, I think, in bringing it to a mass audience. Mm-hmm. Of course, essential oils historically have been around forever, but dōTERRA really kind of helped lead the way and kind of popularize and bring it to a larger mass audience. I'm curious, as you look at that category now, how you think about differentiation and positioning over the long term, because it is an increasingly crowded and competitive category. Again, it's a category that there's really high consumer demand. New consumers come in, that market and category continues to grow. How do you continue to differentiate and stay competitive?
Yeah, it's a great question, Wayne, because, I think we and others really brought essential oils to the mainstream of America and really the world. They were kind of stuck on the shelf back in the corner of retail establishment, health food stores, and now they're everywhere, right? And I think for us, we have really doubled down on essential oils, on the sourcing, the purity, the science behind all that, and are bringing a lot of that to play. And what happens is that, the essential oil space is filled with companies who really don't have the depth in the sourcing world. And so for us, it's about amazing products. And I think focusing on those products is first and foremost what's helped us be successful.
Yeah, it has been really admirable. It would have been easy for another company as time went on to maybe try to gain some efficiencies and lower the cost. And
well, there are companies who do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I always tell people, I jokingly say, well, good for them. They should pay us a royalty because we do the education, we do the training.
Absolutely.
We provide everything, and they just capitalize on it. But ultimately, consumers and the best consumers, as you know, Wayne, know a difference and can tell a difference.
You stuck to those important core values around purity, around sourcing, around transparency in the supply chain, and obviously it's continued to really be a great strategy and a cultural impact for dōTERRA. You've really helped to set the standard. Another thing, again, just from outside observing, you've done so well at the marketing and really helped to modernize essential oils again and bring them to a new and younger audience in a really authentic and meaningful way. So congratulations. I think that was another great strategy. And again, I'm not trying to make it sound like it wasn't meaningful, but it was something that was core to the company and a great differentiator for you and dōTERRA as well.
Thanks, Wayne. I think one of the key parts with dōTERRA that's makes us a little bit unique is there's 7 of us that founded the company, and each of us has a different skill set. And that marketing element you talk about, I credit my partner, Rob Young, who many know in the industry is just a great world-class marketer. And he's developed a team, and they have a process, and that team continues to do great work. The marketing that we provide to our wellness advocates and the positioning of our products is really tremendous. They do a great job.
I know Rob. Rob has done an incredible job. He's been a great mentor to a lot of people, and also in Kurt Gray. I know you've had a great creative director there.
Yep.
I was fortunate to work with him for several years, and just a great creative mind.
He's tremendous. Rob brought him in, and they've done great work. Continue to do great work.
So speaking of the founders, very few of us get the opportunity to be a founding executive. And so when we think about corporate culture, it's something that we normally end up coming into or end up inheriting into a role. And then our job is to kind of keep, beating that drum over time. But I'm curious how you and the other founding executives at dōTERRA approach defining and creating the culture there in the early days. Was that something, again, it's easy to kind of get caught up on product and operations, but how much of a consideration was the culture there?
Culture is been paramount for us every step of the way in terms of how we do things. In the early days, it was each of us being very involved in the business, in all aspects of the business. I have a finance operations background, and others had legal or marketing or education, science, sales. All that came together, even IT with Dave Sterling, who is tremendous. And so all of us were very involved in the business. Mm-hmm. I think the challenge becomes a little bit later as the founders, move on. They have other things. They get older. It's how do we institutionalize that in the next level and the next group of executives? And so we engaged in a process, really, the 7 of us as founders with some of our key executives, in a process of really defining our vision, which includes our purpose, our mission, and our values, right? And we are really working hard over the last 2 or 3 years to instill that throughout the company. Our values, our core, we have 6 core values. We have a mission statement that's really driving us, and our purpose. Our purpose is to help the world heal, and do that in a variety of ways. And we teach that and continue to reiterate that with our teams. I think that's been absolutely key.
I love that you mentioned all these different brand statements. I come from an agency and brand strategy background, and it's something that I've always believed wholeheartedly in. And as I've worked with companies over time, I've always been surprised by how few actually take the time to define all of the pieces. They might take a mission statement or something and try to cram everything into it, and it becomes 3 paragraphs long that it's so convoluted that there's really no meaning. But I think it's so impressive that you and the founders there took the time to really look at each piece of a brand strategy individually and define. All of these kind of inform and impact the other and have this cascading effect. And when those get defined, it's easier to make decisions when you know who you are, what you do, and what you don't do. So it's obvious in the results that taking the time to really define your brand of who you are and how you're different really has had a continued impact. I think that's really impressive.
Thanks, Wayne. And we've had a great team who's helped us really define that and make it meaningful for all of our employees and our wellness advocates, so they understand who we are and what we're not going to do and what we are going to do and where we're going to focus. I learned a long time ago that it takes time, though, to get that water to the end of the row. And someone said once, a great mentor said, that you have to teach something 7 times, 7 different ways, right? So you have to keep reiterating it and coming back to it again and again and again. I think it's easy to launch something, particularly in this world of direct selling. Launch a product, launch it, leave it, right? Move on to the next thing. But we've really tried to be intentional with our purpose statement, our mission, our products, to really educate and teach and stay with something and have the discipline to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point for other leaders out there, especially CEOs, that really have to beat that drum continually over time throughout their entire tenure. And I remember talking to a CEO one time about kind of helping to really instill the mission and the vision and the rest of the brand strategy into the company. And I said, how long do you have to do it for? And he's like, when you get so sick of hearing it yourself, then it's just starting to kind of, scratch the surface there in the cultural zeitgeist of the company. So it is kind of an ongoing effort. Absolutely.
It is an effort that continues. And I agree with that completely. Sometimes I feel like I'm saying the same thing again and again and again, as is our team. But as we focus on what's most important, really, and stay focused on that, we're seeing great results, and really know who we are and what we're doing and why we're doing it, and we don't get misguided.
Yeah, it's a huge differentiator, an asset to have things so well defined as you have.
Yeah.
And one of the things, as we mentioned, that has had such an impact on your success is the incredible products that offer great benefits. And over time, you've developed a really broad product portfolio, which is, has great advantages. There's also at times a couple challenges kind of managing and navigating a larger portfolio. You're in categories from not just essential oils to nutrition to personal care to others. How do you think about consumers or new distributors navigating the product portfolio? Do you have kind of these, more prescribed paths as part of the duplication model, or do you look at these kind of different entry points and develop journeys based on where they entered into the portfolio from?
Yeah, great question. It is a challenge as a company that's getting more mature to have so many products, right? It's hard to go into a new customer's house and say, okay, you just need to take these 42 products because they're all life changing, right? And so we do a lot of work with journeys. We do a lot of work with helping really personalization. I think this is a wave of the future is customer personalization. Where do they want to be, and what then is that journey through with them? And through AI and other technologies, we have great ways to be able to move people through a journey, which I think is key. For us, though, we strategically view all these other products, nutrition, personal care, home care, which we all do really well, they're all gateway products to bring us back to essential oils. So in the development process, for example, a key part of our nutritional offering is essential oils included in those nutritional products. A key part of our personal care products is essential oils in those products, or our home care products. They're all including in part of essential oils. And that really helps differentiate us from the many other wellness products that are out in the market, or other home care products that are in the market. A lot of people in the space, for example, home care or personal care, are using essential oils, right? And you see that more and more. But the reality is, our essential oils, are pure, potent, and when they come with our products, you're getting a really superior home care or personal care product.
Yeah, and by having essential oils be the focus, it really does allow you to authentically extend into new categories and go probably in areas that other brands might not have the same consumer permission to enter.
Correct.
But there's that level of authenticity and the thread that kind of ties all these together. So you're continually reinforcing that story and that positioning, which again, I think is an amazing strategy, an amazing platform for growth.
Yeah, I give you an example. We just launched a metabolic line called MetaPower, which is it deals with metabolic health, right? But we put essential oils as a center part of that. And I told our leaders, I said, this is going to be a very large launch in the world, because we're entering this wellness category where a lot is needed. But essential oils are a key part of that, right? And we don't want to just launch it as a new company. We could have launched this as a new division or a new company altogether, but we want to tie it all in with essential oils and have it be one unifying message. And we've been successful at that. We launched it last year. It's been $100 million in this brand.
Wow.
It could have been, it would have been a top 50 or 100 direct selling company by itself if we would have done that. But we're putting it all in together and to make it a holistic brand with dōTERRA. So
that's really impressive. And again, congrats on the successful launch. Those are incredible numbers for a new brand, really in any channel or any category for sure.
Exciting.
So you mentioned AI and some of the technologies that you're deploying. I'm curious what, if any, shifts dōTERRA has made as it relates to e-commerce. We're hearing more about affiliate marketing. Have you had more of a focus now on driving kind of e-commerce and introduce maybe an affiliate kind of program or element to the compensation plan?
We've ventured into some of those in a pilot way, right? We haven't been quick to jump into that space as quick as others. And it's been intentional on our part, because we're worried about what I'm hearing from some of my friends and other places is, the retention is difficult, the education is difficult, and with essential oils, those are absolutely key parts to what we're doing. So we do have an affiliate program that we've been launching in certain areas and that we're working on, but it's a 100% tied to our leaders. And so many people, break their compensation plan or adjust their compensation plan in significant ways and alienate their leaders to try to get these affiliates moving. And I think it's personally a little bit misguided. It may work for them and their company. It doesn't work for us because we're 100% committed to our leaders and we want to work through them. And we understand the value that they provide in educating and bringing customers to us and in educating them and in helping them understand how to use the products. And without them, we're only half a company. So we work together with them very, very carefully. And we've just been a little bit careful in that regard. Of course, we provide tremendous materials through our market for our wellness advocates to be able to use in their social media posts, and all they're doing with social is wonderful and impactful. And we're right at the forefront of that. But affiliate marketing itself, we're just a little bit more reserved on today.
Oh, absolutely. Again, it's nothing that anyone can completely just jump right into. It definitely takes time when you're managing a large sales force, especially the size of dōTERRA, to really help involve and co-create different strategies or really implement any changes or evolution in the business. It actually takes a very measured approach. So I think that's really smart.
Yeah, that's great.
What are some of the other changes that you're seeing in kind of the channel as a whole? And how, I guess, more specifically, are distributors changing? How are they different from, today than they were 15 years ago when you launched the company? Are you seeing different drivers, different motivators? How has that distributor evolved?
I think two things today. First of all, today's distributor that's coming aboard, our wellness advocate, is much more technologically savvy than were those a long time ago, 15 years ago, right? And so we need to provide tools that really support them and make it very easy for them to be able to share with their friends. We've had to make some adjustments. We've gone with a waived enrollment process so that it's easier to sign people up, because it gets difficult in this world of social with enrollment fees and the way a traditional class would work. And so we've made some adjustments in that regard. But more importantly, we're focused on the customer and what the customer wants. And today's customer, I mentioned this earlier, but they're way more socially conscious than they were 15 years ago. So we spend so much time ingredient by ingredient in each of our products, having them justified, rationalized. Why is that in there? What's the benefit? What's the potential ramification? And working with our leaders to ensure that product by product, we're providing the best, most natural products we can.
That's great. Are there any key changes that you're seeing? Any other dynamics that are shifting in the channel that dōTERRA is kind of looking down the road at how they can really leverage and use as a great opportunity for growth?
I think, to be honest, we are having success at returning to the basics of direct selling. We have enrollment growth over the last few months that's been, the growth rate's been the highest it's been for 6 or 7 years in our company, because we're returning to the basics and focusing on our leaders and not trying to get in front of our leaders, right? We've had Reclaim Your Health events across the United States and Canada, 300 events led by leaders where we're supporting them. Enrollments have been higher than they've been, as I've said, for a long time. And I think it's going back to the basics. COVID really set everyone back, wondered, okay, how's this world changing? The work from home issues, people jumping on social. And I think we haven't wanted to be too quick to jump on new waves, new bright, shiny stars that could distract us from what's really in the best interest of our leaders and what's in the best interest of our brand. And as we focused on that, that's how we're finding success in today's world.
I love hearing that. I think that's incredibly powerful. I've spoken to a couple other execs, I think, that are realizing that they still need to do the basics as well. That when we talk about all the different changes, whether it's technology, culturally, generationally, and it's really easy to get fixated on that change maybe evolve too quickly and abandon certain things that really help to get you and drive that success.
Sure.
And so I think it comes down to more of an issue or a question of and, not or, as you were kind of talking about. So
the key is to be very leader focused, right?
Yeah.
And really not sell out our leaders who are so vital to this. Sometimes as a company, we get to be successful and think, oh, well, we could just go recruit our own customers, right? And you get new people who come in from the outside. Why do we pay your leaders so much in our financial statement? Why are we committing 40, 50% of our financial statement to our leaders, right? And we need to respect them and work with them. And as we do that, I think that's how we'll have the most success.
I love that. That is such a powerful perspective and advice for all of us in the channel.
DSN is excited to announce that registration is now open for the DSU Fall 2023 event. Join 500 plus executive leaders on Wednesday, October 11th and Thursday, October 12th for a 2-day masterclass packed with cutting-edge insights, strategies, and game-changing ideas from more than 30 industry executives and subject matter expert speakers. Discover emerging trends and dynamics shaping the industry, including enhanced affiliate marketing, digital strategies, and generative AI. Learn from top-rated speakers like Blake Mallon, Brandon White, Stuart Johnson, Wayne Moorhead, and Heather Chastain, as well as new speakers to the DSU stage like John Akala with It Works, Jen Ashby with Savvy, Madison Millardy with Lime Life by Alcone, Brian Gill with For Life, Roger Morgan with Paw Tree, and many more. This in-person event offers priceless networking opportunities and energizing ideation sessions. Don't miss out on the chance to connect with future-focused executives and gain valuable knowledge to propel your business forward. Register now at dsu2023.com and secure your spot for this transformative event. Now, a word from one of our premier supplier sponsors. DSN is honored to be supported by industry suppliers that partner with companies across the channel to help enhance, streamline, and grow your businesses. This episode is sponsored by InfoTrax. For 30 years, InfoTrax has developed exceptional software solutions. Their cloud-based platform offers everything customers need for a successful compensation plan. Their commission calculator, web-based development portal, data subscriptions, commission management, health monitoring displays, and support team are here for you. You may have heard recently that InfoTrax partnered with BigCommerce, a flexible software-as-a-service platform to help you grow and convert more customers. BigCommerce equips you with fast-scaling e-commerce success with e-commerce tools and customizable storefronts that fit your brand. And the user-friendly interface empowers you to make changes with clicks, not code, to improve productivity and reduce costs. Visit infotraxsys.com. That's infotraxsys.com to learn more. Now let's get back to the interview with Corey Lindley, founding executive and CEO of dōTERRA.
As we talked about before, you have such incredible and extensive experience in international launching markets, managing regions. Again, some of the largest markets at other companies, you were there on the ground running. And I think that international, as it relates especially to launching markets, has always been a little bit of a stumbling block for a lot of us in direct selling. We might launch or try to launch too many markets too quickly that aren't fully supported, or we're bringing in a lot of technical debt, unintentionally or unfortunately, into that launch. I'm curious how you think about successful market launches. Can you touch a little bit on what you've done maybe at other places in there, and how you've approached things like what is the right cadence? How long should a market development cycle be? Can you just share some of your thoughts on that?
Sure. I have done a lot internationally. I lived in Japan, launched New Skin in Japan and China. I lived in China for 4 years. And, I think that there's a couple of things that are really important. First of all, you need to have a strong U.S. presence, okay? And so many companies run international before they've really strengthened their U.S. presence or their home market presence, whatever that may be. I know we have a global crowd, but you have to be successful in your home market. And if you're not successful here, ultimately it's going to be successful long-term in another market. And so you have to have a strong U.S. presence. Today, dōTERRA, we operate in around the globe, right? And we're pretty much everywhere. But the US is still by far our largest market. It's twice as big as any other international market for us. And it's a key element of what we're doing. And so it's a key thing, but it's still only a third of our business because we have business in Europe and in Asia and South America, and we've been successful in each of those places. But the second key is you have to have the financial strength and the backing to be able to really manage this, because it's not for the faint of heart to go into these markets, okay? There are commitments, and you've got to establish things in the right way to truly be successful. We're successful in Brazil, a market that a lot of companies struggle in, and we're growing rapidly in Brazil, and we're building a large factory in Brazil and investing significant amount of resources, tens of millions of dollars in this market to really help the market become all that it can be. It's not for the faint of heart. We don't look at an international market and go, let's go there so we can make some quick profits to really shore up our profitability. This is a long-term play in terms of profitability. And the final thing is that you really need an experienced team. You need people who have done this before and successfully done this before. And I know from my past, a lot of people claim they've done it before, but just because they were along for the ride doesn't mean they really know what it takes to be successful in an international market. There's a balance between how much you do culturally in a market and how much you do globally, and where that balance fits is absolutely key. You can't just run it like you do in the US, but you can't abandon your successful global values and who you are and how you're operating. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge, Wayne, but it's a tremendous opportunity. I wouldn't go too fast in terms of, even at dōTERRA, we've been at it for 15 years, but it's, 1 or 2 markets a year now. It takes 3 or 4 years to successfully launch a market. It's not like you can say, oh, we want to be there in 6 months. If you do that, it's going to be a challenge. It's a little bit more difficult for us because, we're registering 100 products instead of, 5 products that some companies can launch and start with. So it's a bit of a challenge, but it's a key element for us to be able to succeed globally. And we take a long-term approach. We're not the same level of success in every market around the world, but once we enter, we're there for the long term. And I think that's the attitude you need to take. Are you ready to stand behind this for the long term? If you're not, you really shouldn't be going to that market. Absolutely.
And I think it's true. We've all experienced it where in so many of these markets, you really only get one chance to launch a market.
Correct.
If you don't end up launching it right, a lot of times you can't swing back around, you can't fix it. Unfortunately, at times you almost have to walk away for a while and kind of let the dust settle. So it is such an important part of our business and something that we do need to spend I'm so impressed with the amount of time, not just time for time's sake, but how careful that dōTERRA and measured and strategic they are in launching markets. And I know that that's gone a long way in making sure that those markets are really successfor
one of the expenses that people shy away from, and I lived overseas, okay? So I was an expatriate for Nu Skin in my past, right? But investing in an expatriate is a key thing, right? To be able to have someone on the ground in the market who understands the corporate side, and then being committed to expatriates as they repatriate, right? So now our office back here, corporate, after 15 years, is full of people who have lived and worked in various markets around the world and understands the cultural sensitivity, understands how to support those markets. That's such a key thing, because it gets to be a challenge in a lot of companies, how to support a market, how to support international. The pushes and pulls of that are a challenge, but expatriates and repatriating them and making that part of who we are is a key thing for us to be successful globally.
I love that you talked about that. I think that is such an issue in the channel as a whole, maybe, across channels, but it's definitely something that I think we haven't done a great job in direct selling at, is really taking care of those expatriates when they return. So many other companies outside, that's part of the development program. You have to go live somewhere else for 2 years. If you want to go up the management track, you need a 2-year stint in international at a minimum.
About there, Wayne, you're talking about the successful large companies.
Correct.
who are big players, right? Well, that's who we are. That's who we're wanting to be, right? That's who we're striving to become. And we have to act like that, right? We can't take the short.
Yes.
So that's what you're talking about.
No, it's invaluable experience that you give to someone. And again, I'll just say I've been at companies before that maybe didn't take that approach. And I was always baffled that they would go to the time and the expense to develop these people and then literally say, hey, there may not be a job for you when you get back.
Yeah, I know.
And I never totally understood that. And so I'm so glad that you brought that up. We've actually never talked about that on the podcast. I think that's a really important part of our development and retention from the corporate side that we just don't get right too many times, unfortunately.
Being a global company is different. And I think a lot of companies don't appreciate what that takes. And that takes really thinking globally, and people with global experience provide tremendous value in the whole enterprise and how we operate. It now impacts the way we develop products. It impacts the way we manage the product process, impacts the way we manage our work with our sales teams globally, because we have more and more of a global mindset. There's more we can do. I'm not completely satisfied that we're perfect in all this, but we've gone a long ways. And I know from where others are that we've done a good job at looking at this business as a truly global business.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's something that I think we all need to consider and do a better job of implementing and really leveraging the talents and the time of these people that go overseas and develop such incredible skill, have such incredible experience, and really leverage that back kind of at the home office. I think we can do a better job of that for sure. So thank you for bringing that up.
Great.
So you've touched on this a little bit in your time running markets internationally. I'm curious how you saw the relationship or the dynamic between the home office and the market. What worked well from a fixed and flexible? You're kind of smiling, so I know that this is something you've kind of dealt with probably for a considerable part of your career. But how have you seen that dynamic work well?
Yeah, I think the expatriates play a key role in this, but I also think it takes a mindset of understanding that not all good ideas originate at the home office, and sometimes we seem to think that the home office always knows better. And in reality, it's a collaboration between the home office and the local market. And we need a strong local team. In our best markets globally, we have strong teams in those markets, and we collaborate closely on strategic issues all the time so that we're one team, we're one dōTERRA. We're not corporate versus this market. And sometimes I find here, that they're not respecting what's coming out of that market. And from my experience at being global, saying, no, that's not the way we need to act. And we need to totally respect them and work together so that we're one family. And that's the way it works best. And that is it's easier said than done, because people like to work in silos. They do their thing, and it's a challenge. So we collaborate extensively. And I think technology today makes it easier than ever, but it also makes it more difficult, because so many times I get frustrated in my role as a CEO when we have a challenge in a market, and they're like, people at corporate are like, well, we're not getting the information we need. And I'm like, pick up the phone and talk to them. Okay. It's like, or do a Zoom, like, don't just rely on an email and what you get back, and just pick it up and collaborate, because, I think we need to respect the fact that English isn't always their native language. And we just need to collaborate. They're sincere. Our people internationally work just as hard, frankly, probably harder than our teams here. And it's like, work together. If we just work together, use technology, do Zoom meetings, Teams meetings, whatever it may be, or pick up the darn phone, our mobile phone does still have a phone device on it, right? It's not for purposes, right?
Yeah, a market is only a phone call or a Zoom away. I think that collaborative approach is so important. I've been at places that maybe are at both ends of the spectrum. And when the markets or regions have a seat at the table, when they have a voice, when they've been co-creators of whether it's a new product strategy or launch or another, maybe compensation initiative or something, sure, it's always going to be better. I've been in the market shoes before. I hated surprises. I didn't love having products kind of, surprised on me and shoved down my throat that maybe didn't fit quite into, our calendar for the year or, the pipeline that we were launching or some of our initiatives. And so it is so important to make sure that home office and corporate are so closely tied together.
Correct. I agree completely. It's absolutely key.
Well, I want to shift into a couple questions around leadership. You've been in leadership since the early days of your career. What do you feel is one of the really most important or greatest lessons you've learned as the CEO there?
Well, I first of all give great credit to wonderful CEOs that I've learned from in the past, right? When I was at New Skin, Blake Roney, Steve Lund, even Truman Hunt, I learned things from each of them, many things that I try to incorporate, some things that I would do different, right? But I've learned, and they've been great mentors. And David Sterling here, and I never aspired really to be the CEO. And when Dave was was called to serve a mission for our church, he went and talked to me about being the CEO. And my wife and I agreed to do this. It's a big commitment, and I have learned. I will say this, that I have greatly appreciated. Much more so our teams, what they do. Being the CEO is a hard thing. It's a challenge to be the final decision maker. It's much easier, even in the C-suite, to say, here's what we should do, and here's all the analysis why. But ultimately, to make the decision strategically of where you're going is a weight and a challenge. And I'm just grateful for the wonderful mentors that I've had. I would say this, when I took over as the CEO a year and a half ago, we're in the midst of COVID still. The Ukraine war broke out, right? It was a challenge for all of us, the economy, the challenges with inflation, inflationary pressures. And what I've relied upon is getting back to the basics and understanding a principle. I love Jim Collins, Good to Great, B 2.0, all these things. And he talks about that the culture of discipline is not a principle of business, it's a principle of greatness, right? And we need discipline in what we do. And we get to make knee-jerk reactions and move different ways, but ultimately we just need discipline throughout the company. And I think that we get to be bureaucratic at times and get to make decisions in different ways. And we just need to be disciplined and focused. We're very committed at dōTERRA, and we institute a strategic flywheel that talks about what types of products we produce, how we support leaders, how we support customers. And if we do those simple, basic things well, then the flywheel moves. And we're beginning to see great success by doing that. So I've learned a lot. It's a challenge, right? But it's been a great opportunity for us as well.
I love that perspective. So with everything on your plate, you definitely joined at a really interesting time in the history of the company, just with everything that's going on externally, all the external market and regional forces that you mentioned. So with all the challenges, with all the opportunities, with all of the markets, how do you continue to grow and develop as a leader? How do you even find the time to even kind of dig in and kind of thoughtfully continue to grow as a leader?
Yeah, I think the first thing I do is that I listen to my wife. Okay. We do this. My wife is with me a lot, travel. Usually our leaders love to visit with her more than they love to visit with me. She's engaging. She's wonderful. But I think the art of listening is a skill set that I didn't have early on in my career, that I've tried to develop more, is to really listen and understand where people are coming from. We have amazing teams. We have amazing executives. And here at dōTERRA, we have an executive council of about 10 or 12 of us that work together so closely about what's happening, and listening and coming to a consensus and not trying to be dictatorial. It's easy to say, oh, I'm a founder, this is what we're going to do, right? But that's not creating a forever company. We need to make decisions based on principles, and mentoring people is key. So it's a challenge to find time, to answer your question. I carve out certain things for myself early in the morning. My exercise, my study, my connecting with God is all very important to me early on in the day. I have a very busy day. And then I spent time early on always being home for dinner early with my kids. Now I'm the CEO. I'm not always home so early. I don't have kids at home, so it's easier. But spending quality time with my wife is absolutely key for me to keep me grounded and keep me focused.
That's beautiful. You mentioned or touched on this a little bit earlier. As you look at the next generation of leaders there at dōTERRA at the corporate level, not in the field, but at corporate, how are you and some of the other founding executives thinking about developing them, preparing them for, ultimately the time when maybe some of the founding executives end up retiring or going on to do other things? How is the company, and how are you thinking about that mentoring and development of the next generation?
Sure. We're being very intentional about that, right? This is where coming up with our vision, our purpose, our mission, our values become key. Here's why we make the decisions we do. Here's how we do it. And then our strategic flywheel, putting everything in the context and keep going back to that. So I try to help our teams understand why we make the decisions that we're making, how it fits into our strategy. And look, we don't always hit a home run every time. We like to say that we shoot some bullets before we shoot a cannonball, right? We try some different things out, but it's always based upon a strategy and the strategy. And when we can stay focused as a team on strategic issues and focus on our strategy, then I think decision-making can become more systematized and not based upon a personality of one person making a decision, but as a team approach. We're much stronger as a team than we are individually. So, even Dave Sterling, when he was here in the early days, always talked about triangulating. I don't know if that's a word, but trying to get two or three people involved in every decision that we make, and making sure that we're united in what we're doing and that it's making sense. It's good to really vet things thoroughly before we move forward, and it helps the team grow and mature in the process.
That's a really interesting approach. Okay, last question, then I'm going to let you off the hook.
All right.
So as you look... Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one to end on. So as you look down the pipe of the next 3 years there at dōTERRA, what excites you the most?
I think the impact, our focus is on tripling our impact by the year 2030. And we're on a path to doing that. That means impact for the number of growers, right? We influence about 2.7 million lives today in developing nations related to the sourcing of our oils. We want to take that to 10 million, right? We have more than 10 million customers. We want to take that to 40 or 50 million customers. And helping people is what drives me day in and day out. And as I'm out and about, I just returned from Asia, returned from other parts. I was in Asia, I was in Europe, and visiting with our teams as we gather, being able to see the impact that we're having in people's lives for the better is what really drives me. This is a people business, right? We have amazing products, but the direct selling aspect of it is about people and helping people. And even our products, it's about helping people through the process. So I'm just motivated by that. I think there's some trends in the world that are interesting, but they're not they're not taking away from the fundamentals of great products and helping people. There's the ESG trends that are so impactful, the societal trends of the environment and social and sustainability and governance. All these are important, and in companies, we all need to dive deeper into this area. AI is changing the world, and we're beautifully set up for that. I can tell you, we know our customers way better than retail shops know their customers, or way better than big consumer companies know their customers, right? We're connected to our customers, and AI is providing us just a huge opportunity to capitalize on that as we stay focused on leaders, we stay focused on insanely great products, and we stay focused on, retaining our customers and having a strong customer base. So yeah, we're excited about the future here at dōTERRA, and I think the future is very bright as we stay focused.
That is the perfect place to end. Corey, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your leadership, for the example that you set for so many, and for the influence you have on so many. Appreciate you taking the time out of your day.
Thank you, Wayne. It's a pleasure to visit with you again. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. Please take a minute to give a rating and review to help Direct Approach continue to provide candid interviews and insights for direct selling corporate executives. And register today for DSU2023.com to join 500 plus of your peers October 11th and 12th for the DSU Fall event in Irving, Texas. Thank you for listening and supporting DSN and the Direct Approach podcast.